I'm live. Okay. Welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled GAVAB committee meeting today, January 3rd, 2024. We are not live?
No, you are.
We are, okay. At the table, we have Councillors Haas, Rich Schaefer, Dean, Trimble, Leonard, Fish, Fournier, Chair Beltier, and myself, Councillor Yaqub Aga. Voting members on this committee are Councillors Fish, Haas, Schaefer, and Trimble. We also have Assistant City Manager Courtney O'Donnell at the table. The first item on the agenda is public bathroom. Back to this.
Yes, this has been part of an ongoing conversation. I think Parks and Rec Director Tracy Willett is here to join me
behind you.
today.
City Manager O'Donnell.
I remember 2 years ago when I was on this council, we started this discussion. I'm so excited. We have something tangible tonight.
Well, that's a good way for me to start. Thank you. Tracy Willett, Parks and Recreation Director. And as you shared, we've been on this topic for a while now. And in the materials that we provide you prior to the meeting, you can see we've tried a variety of locations for the last few years with varying degrees of success. Those included Pickering Square, Waterfront, Fairmount Broadway Park, and then up on Cleveland Street. However, we've had some successes as well over the years, and we talked about those being the Roundhouse down. We've actually opened the Harbor Master Building for the first time in a while on a regular basis this past season. The Transit Center is now open, and we're able to use that building as well. And we've had success at Cascade Park with a couple of portable units for a number of years now. And then the pit toilets out to the city forest have been there since the boardwalk opened, somewhere thereabouts. And those we've had success with those as well. So we've been trying to find some alternatives, something we could try, doing a little research on different approaches, either with more portable units or something a little different. The city of Portland found a fabricator local to them in southern Maine that created some of these steel units that don't need utilities. They've tried them in different locations around Portland and have had pretty good success with them. They can have at some point a tank installed underneath them, but they essentially act as the typical portable unit, except they're steel, pretty solid, and are attached to a concrete pad. And there's openings in them in such a way that you can monitor and see what's going on with activity on a regular basis. And certainly the pictures that I think we shared with you as part of the memo speak to themselves and what the units really look like. And I think there's an opportunity here to try something like this approach here in Bangor. We've talked about some locations we'd like to try those. They include Fairmount and Broadway Parks, Chapin Park and Co Park, as well as down along Broad Street. And we've all in provided you a cost estimate of what those potentially would be. And here we are.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Trimble. Yes.
So the pictures, this first one, is this all, I know the unit itself, you're talking steel, the toilets, is that structure?
Steel.
So it's basically is vandal.
Careful how loud you
Yeah.
say and what you say about
Okay.
it.
So,
But
I
they-
think that first one looks great. I mean, I
Yeah.
think hopefully we could start with the downtown area and then figure out from there. But I think it seems like the highest need right now is in the downtown area, what I hear.
Well, we have some need in our parks as well, and that's why we use the citywide approach. Our master plan included discussion about a general reference to additional public amenities, and certainly restrooms are part of that. And Fairmount, Hayford Park, and Broadway Parks, for example, with the amenities that are each of those. And as we tried Fairmount and Broadway with portable units because of some requests to have them at those parks. So. But yeah, certainly the downtown has been discussed a lot as well.
Councillor Fournier.
Operational costs. I just didn't see anything.
So part of in the estimate is at least a contractor to service them on a regular basis, and we used for this discussion what we contracted to service the portable, the pit toilet at City Forest. So within that estimate we have is some maintenance and operating costs as well.
And
It's about $1,200 a unit per year to service them. That's a rough estimate off the top of my head from my notes. It was like, well, I think it was close.
Yes, Councilor Schiffer.
I think these look great. I think, well, always nice to let Portland go first. And having them close enough to this, I think if they're close to the street and they have the open bottoms and their area that, that if you need to use it, you'll use it. And if you don't need to use it and you wanted to linger and do untoward things, you're not gonna be tempted because it's a little too close for comfort for most people. I know that we had issues in the past with the servicing companies not wanting to service them. I would also hope that this might be more of easier to service because of the size and the layout of them. So have there been issues with servicing companies in Portland, not like?
So Portland started out with a contractor, similar to Casella or any other portable unit company. They have transitioned to bringing that function in-house, but they didn't express any real issues with the contractor they were using. But they just chose to bring that in-house.
I know there's like a safety issue at some point, like maybe, the people
Because someone servicing, but they didn't want to put the units here because they were being vandalized.
It was both issues we were having. When they would arrive to service them, it was the issues they having once they arrived.
Needles and stuff.
And then the units getting destroyed, so that, they just, both issues got them to a point where, we're not going to do that anymore.
I have a question, please. So time frame, I don't recall, I don't know if you stated that, like how many hours a day? Is it 24 hours? Is it 8 to 5? I don't remember if.
If we went with these units, they would essentially stay there and be available,
24.
unless we made a decision policy-wise to
That's
secure
awesome.
them overnight, but Portland, I believe, leaves theirs open all 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I think if they are serviced.
Yeah.
All the time, and there's a contractor, I think that is, I think that we will figure out if this is working or not. I think we can revisit this, but it's great that it's gonna be 24 hours. Yes, Councilor.
I know it doesn't take utilities, but would it have some type of solar light or something if it's gonna be open all the time and know with the.
I don't believe they like them. They're essentially like a portable unit would be and generally styled in that way. One of the there are units they try to keep in lit areas. For example, in Portland, they like located one on Spring Street near Monument Square, so certainly downtown, it's.
So the top will maybe have ventilation with the
Yeah.
light beginning as well.
Are they open during the winter, year round?
I believe most of them are open year round, because there's no plumbing to them, so there's no need to winterize them.
I like the painting on this one. I think it
So
looks
it's kind of cool, no,
looks cool.
yeah.
Can we name them like the snowplows?
Yeah.
Let's see what the school kids have to say then.
That would be a fantastic project.
Any more questions, comments? Yes, Councilor Chair. Pelletier.
Do we think that one unit is sufficient for downtown?
I think so. Like, again, Portland has spread them around the city. I use only because my daughter's in Burlington, Vermont, the same kind of concept. They have one near the downtown as well as other areas throughout the city. So certainly going forward, and I can I'm sure the city manager will correct me if I misspeak, but if there's an opportunity later on, if we think another one's needed downtown, that certainly could be an option.
So we have the transit bathrooms as well.
So the transit center and the harbor master building on the
Yeah.
waterfront's available too. And as I mentioned in the memo, not necessarily specific to the downtown, but we're gonna try opening the new restrooms by the Davis Brook tank as well, so.
Yeah, perfect.
Need a motion?
I think we need a motion, right? Yeah.
Can I just ask one question? So I couldn't help but hear how Councilor Yakubaga enjoyed the painted one. I would say that perhaps in our parks, if we look to put these in our parks, is maybe that we consider doing this as a public art.
Yeah.
And that's how
Absolutely.
Portland did it. And,
Yeah, that's exactly.
to just sort of
Yeah,
make it more of a
Mhm.
neighborhood feel and maybe
Yeah.
work with the cultural commission.
yeah,
'Cause
sounds like a good idea.
Yay.
Okay,
I
so,
think the question is just one or more. We gave, there was 80,000, I believe, that's been allocated as part of the ARPA dollars.
mhm.
And I think, what are they per unit to create?
About 30,000 to create, and then the associated, operation costs we referenced and the concrete pad and that sort.
That's about 2 or so I guess.
I,
Yes.
I would say to use, we have ARPA money left. And I would say absolutely peel some off and use it to do these around town and
Yeah, and I totally agree with that.
Second.
Yeah. Perfect, so we have
Nice.
a motion and a second. Perfect.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
can we actually, is it possible to use some of the ARPA money on this to include the budget for the making them look nice and painted, whether it's a
Yeah.
grant or?
Yes, my suggestion will be, is Tracy's estimate was $30,000 a
Yeah.
unit. We had 7 units, which is $210,000. That was based on Portland's price.
Yep.
My suggestion would be that we would go ahead and I'll put forward a council order for next week. We are allocating up to $250,000 for public restrooms. That includes a public art component.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Yep.
Love that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, we move to the second part of the agenda.
Yes, so this is follow-up on LD 202, the sale of cannabis at off-site events, and I believe City Solicitor Dave Sebchek is here to join me or us.
And I have a few papers I want to share with the council. Some articles, I'm stingy, I just got one copy, I'm gonna pass them around and you can have a look at them related to this.
Is there a way that you could share that with us? Via
I
email?
can, yeah, I can definitely do that, yes. I haven't thought about that, yes, absolutely. So. Yes,
Hi, so I'm back. For most of you, this is a repeat performance. For some of you, it's not, for the new members. So in the summer, last year during the summer, there was an act became law or was voted on, an act to clarify the requirements for adult use cannabis stores to transact sales at specified events. It became effective on October 25th. We brought this to you in September at the GovOps committee, and at that time there was a directive. The act, what it does is it sets up a process for adult use cannabis stores to apply for and get state permits to sell cannabis and cannabis products at off-site specified events. And one of the requirements of that, in order for a cannabis store to obtain a specified event permit from the state, they need to show that they have approval from the municipality where the specified event will occur. Without this local approval, a cannabis store would not be able to obtain a permit to sell cannabis at the offsite event. The new state law does not require the municipalities to allow these offsite cannabis sales. It is up to the municipality to decide whether to allow the cannabis sales at offsite events. And if allowed, whether additional restrictions over and above those stated in the state statute should apply. Under the current retail marijuana ordinance, there's no authority to issue an approval for a cannabis store to sell cannabis at off-site events. And the legal department recommends that the retail marijuana ordinance be amended to specify whether off-site cannabis sales are allowed at specified events, and if allowed, what, if any, additional restrictions apply to such sales. We brought this to you last September and were given a directive to prepare an amendment to the ordinance that would indicate that off-site sales at specified events are not allowed in Bangor. when the ordinance amendment went to the council for vote, there were a couple of members who weren't there, and the ordinance amendment failed to pass by a vote of 3-4, 3 in favor. And there's been some turnover in the members. So that we really have 3 options that I would recommend, that one of which we get a directive to go toward. One option would be to amend the ordinance to specify that a cannabis store may not sell cannabis at off-site events. The second option would be to amend it to specify that off-site sales of cannabis at specified events are allowed, subject to the restrictions imposed by the state statute. Or the third option would be to amend the ordinance to specify that off-site sales of cannabis is allowed with restrictions that are in addition to those required by the state statute. What I don't recommend is leaving the ordinance as is, because the current ordinance doesn't provide any notice to adult use cannabis stores that there is no mechanism for the city to issue local approval for off-site cannabis sales at events. So I think that the ordinance should be amended one way or the other. Since the enactment of the state statute, the Cross Insurance Center has received an inquiry from one of the companies which runs multiple events at the center, indicating that the company intends to seek the city's approval to permit sales of cannabis and cannabis products at certain Cross Center events. And the director of the Cross Center has indicated that if the city were to approve sales of cannabis and cannabis products at Cross Center events, that the Cross Center will request that additional roaming staff be brought in to ensure that no cannabis is being used on property during the events, as on-site use at events is not permitted under the restrictions of the state statute. And it's broader than that in terms of what is anticipated. We are expecting to receive numerous requests from adult use cannabis stores for city approval to sell cannabis at events that occur in other locations in Bangor, both public and private. There are many events that occur each year on public property within the city, waterfront concerts and festivals and other events that you know of that occur, that I listed out in my memo. And these requests from offsite cannabis sales at events may come from cannabis stores located outside the city. And if the council decides that offsite sales of cannabis is permitted at events, the city may also need to consider adding restrictions or requirements to the organizers of these events related to city services to make sure that the state restrictions are complied with at these events. So what we're looking for is guidance in this regard. And if you need to know what the restrictions are in the state statute, I can let you know what those are.
Yes, please. That was my next question, because I
Okay.
was looking when I read before we came here, like it always says, restrictions imposed by the state statute, but then I don't see
What that
those
is,
restrictions are.
Yeah, I did attach to the state statute, but the restrictions are, there's no consumption of cannabis or cannabis products on the permitted premises for the specified event.
So is it the last attachment to the document that you shared with us?
There was the state statute was supposed to have been attached to the, was the memo.
Yeah,
I
I
think
know
It
that
was,
one,
okay,
yes.
yeah, good.
Yeah, it was, yep.
So there's no consumption on site. They can sell it, but it can't be used on site under the state statute. A store is not allowed to sell for a period longer than the specified event. The sales, no sales are allowed anywhere other than on the permitted premises for the specified event. All sales must be in a tent or similar structure with a single point of entry into the tent or similar structure to view or purchase the cannabis. The cannabis store must verify that a person entering the tent is at least 21. The cannabis store must provide signs notifying customers that cannabis and cannabis products can't be consumed on the premises of the specified event. The cannabis store must ensure that the cannabis and cannabis products are secured when not under the direct control and supervision of the cannabis store's employees. And the store must video all sales in a manner that captures, to the extent practicable, only the person making the purchase and must retain the recording for 45 days and make it available to the State Department for inspection at the department's request. So those are the requirements that are in the state statute.
So I don't know if Councillor.
I was just gonna make a motion, that we recommend to the council that we amend the ordinance to not allow the on off-premise sales.
Second. And I think it's good to have discussions. I mean, I totally agree, but I think it's good to open this for discussion on the council if anyone has, yes, Councillor Schaefer.
I'm actually, what I don't agree with is the state's thing, because I think of all the events that we have. Go to the tournament, you can buy a beer and take it to your seat. You can, and I've always felt like cannabis should be regulated in the same way that alcohol is and have similar limitations. So until you get to the part where you can't use it at the place where you buy it, I was gonna say that we should allow it, because we allow Blues and Brews and we allow the beer festival, and, even the Harvest Festival has a beer area. So I feel like the state sort of messed up their ordinance by saying, yes, you can do it, but you can't use it. You can have it, but you can't touch it, because that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So I would support Tremble's decision, but I would also, if in the future, if their guidelines changed, and I've said that for all the years I've been on council, it's, just like there's certain rules about where a bar can be, then it should align for cannabis. Because certainly alcohol has killed thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and that is easily accepted as to grab a cup and go take your seat and watch the tournament, So I would support that, but.
Yeah, I feel that implementation will be, I mean, if we say yes, I feel implementation of this will be tricky. How to make sure that no one is really using this on premises. I mean, it's so hard. We can't tell. There are tons of people out there. How can we tell that, this is the person who's using this? So, and it's gonna put, I feel, more pressure on the city to hire more people to police the place. And I don't feel it's realistic or practical.
And if it didn't have that restriction, I would say that we should support the sale of it, just like we support the sale of beer, wine, and spirits at our venues. But with that restriction, it just becomes a logistical issue for me and not a moral issue.
I think also that we're putting too much trust on the vendor themselves to manage and police what the rules would be. And also it puts, for instance, the Cross Center or other events that we would have in a position where maybe they don't want to deal with it. But if we pass the law, then it becomes their problem. So we may end up putting other events in a position they don't want to be in. So I would agree with Councilor Trumbull.
I'm somewhat surprised that they would want to sell off-site if it isn't regulated or isn't, allowed, because wouldn't that put them perhaps being liable if there was a misuse? Where it's right on site rather than, if it's from somewhere else, you can't prove where it's coming from. But if you have vendors right on site and there's a misuse of it, it seems like you would track it back to that vendor more readily than an outside source.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what stores' desires are in terms of sales versus risk exposure to liability. That would be something you probably need to get from the cannabis stores.
But I agree with you, the fallout of that question will go back to the host of the event. It's being sold there, but they're not supposed to use it there. So now the host of the event, has to deal with the fallout.
Usually they just wash their hands of it, if there isn't abuse, but if there was someone right there, it would be much easier to target where it came from.
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
Would anyone be open to an amendment where inhaling versions of cannabis can be sold at these sites? So for example, anything that is an edible or something like that. So it's not harming anyone else in the vicinity. There's no smoke in the area. It's just only affecting the user themselves. Is anyone open to that?
I'm only not because I feel like then you're getting into a logistical situation with the state statute. And truly like until you get to the part where, well, you can't use it and you can't touch it, but you can buy it, but you can't use it. And that's where it breaks down for me. So it's truly not a moral decision. It's really a logistical one and a logical one. So, and I feel like that would even be, people be violating the statute before they walk out of that tent. So.
Did you have your thing?
I was just gonna say, I agree with Counselor Schaefer 100%. I have no qualms about, allowing people to purchase cannabis. It's legal in Maine. I don't even have qualms about allowing people to do it at an event, but once you get to the statute where it says you can buy it, but you can't use it. I mean, imagine if you walked into the Cross Center and you bought a beer, but they're like, you can't drink it till you get home. I mean, how many people are actually going to follow that rule? It does not make sense to me. I can't logically understand why people would want to sell a product intended for immediate consumption and not allow people to consume it on site. So I would agree that if the state statute changes, that would allow people to use edibles. Obviously, the Cross Center is non-smoking anyway, so you probably wouldn't sell something that people could smoke. But, for edibles or even drinks with cannabis in them, which some people are consuming now instead of alcohol, have gained a lot of popularity. So it's not, for me, it's not a moral issue. It really is related to, it just doesn't make sense when you look at the state statute and what's allowed and what's disallowed.
I think that answers to like the comments. It's, I thought about it when I was reading this, don't use edibles at the same time again, if, like how to guarantee that, people are not, consuming them. So, I think we are all set. Any more comments on this? Anyone? So do we need, we had a motion and we had second. So are we done? We don't need a vote here, right? Do we need a vote?
No,
that is
We're
all good.
Yep. No, don't you're good.
Yeah, so I think we're all set. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, parking change request for 11 Main Street.
Yes. Economic Development Director Ann Krieg is going to join. She received a request from, I believe, Gas Medical located at 411 Main Street. A business on Main Street related to the parking directly in front of their business.
Thank you. Normally, I'm sure you were confused when you saw this in your packet, because normally we send things, parking related to the Parking Advisory Committee, but this particular location is outside the boundary of the parking district. So that's why it specifically comes to you as government operations. So the request is to add 30-minute parking to the spaces at located at 411 Main Street. This area, these businesses in here, most of their customers are just in and out, getting the products, the retail stores. So they're just coming in, getting their products and leaving. And so they're looking for 30-minute spaces because there are people that park there all day. And it's become an issue for the business. So they're requesting to put 30-minute parking there.
Councilor Trumbull?
Motion on this question, I move approval as the recommendation. Second, is that the area get any enforcement other than by police? There's a downtown, there's enforcement people, do they go down there at all? Or is that just gonna be enforced by police if they have a problem? The owners would call the police?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're actually working on a new contract that we'll be bringing to you for parking
They
management.
just stay in the downtown district.
So they
right?
typically just
Yeah.
stay in that district. However, we could, add these to their area.
My question is about those cars who park all day. So are there other businesses adjacent to this one or like apartments? Whose cars are these cars?
It's probably apartments,
Apartments.
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah. maybe
So
3
for-
hours.
Yeah, for me, when I was reading this, so from all day, it's open to anyone, and then to half an hour, I feel it's just maybe, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe. I mean, half an hour, it's just, because I work in downtown, so it's rough when you
Yeah.
have to move your car. So it's, I feel maybe just to have a reasonable timing on this, just to go maybe with a couple hours. I don't know if there are any other thoughts on this.
Just real quick, there's a motion on the table.
Second.
There was,
It's not.
sorry, he made a motion, so either it fails or there's a
It-
second.
It's
Yeah?
not seconded
Okay.
yet, so.
All right, okay, you're good now.
Yeah, okay. So, I don't know, I mean, yeah, yes, Councillor House.
I think you're gonna find that the largest offenders are not apartments, because they have their own parking areas in those buildings down there. There's a couple of the shops that are there that have sort of a social atmosphere when you go in, and, you know, they'll buy I don't know, buy a cigar and sit down and talk to your buddy, and so it ends up being a lot longer than just running in and getting a product and coming out, because they have one part of one of those stores. It's really like a smoke lounge, I guess you'd call it.
Mm.
And I think it's the same cars every time you go by. So I really think it's that end of the three.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem shortening it. I mean, you certainly could be social and go in and still chat for a little bit, but you don't need to be there for 2 hours if other people are trying to get into the other businesses and can't, because there isn't much else there for parking.
Right, it's part of Main Street, for sure.
Councillor Schiffer.
Is it that, am I reading my partial viewer right, that the petitioner is not the building owner? And does the building owner have any?
Yeah, this came from, the tenant, not the building owner. Don't have communication from the building owner.
Okay, I didn't know if that was something that was a factor, because other parking changes, I feel like it's been,
Typically with parking advisory, it's both, you know, whenever, you know, we'll hear from the owners, we'll hear from tenants.
like, is it the owner that's parking there? You know, like that.
Right, right.
Councillor Trumbull.
No, I think Council has made a good point. I think that shop next door has like a cigar lounge with people. So maybe there's something shorter that would work better than 30 minutes, but also if we could we get some input, like from the butters? I mean, I think we should ask the other
Yeah.
businesses in the area how it would impact them, because, I mean, there is a business right next door, right, use those spots, so we probably should find out. I think that one of the other side has a own on-site parking, so.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why I thought it's like, is it apartments? What's, like, I should have driven maybe just to make sure what's in that area. I'm familiar with it, but I'm just not sure what exactly goes next to those, to this building.
sure, I can do some more analysis and do a little bit of notification and come back next time with more information.
Do you want to draw your motion?
It never got a second, so.
Yes,
Yes, it did.
Oh, it did, I
Okay,
didn't think
2
you
seconds.
second.
I said
I never
it
heard
was.
it. You okay if we do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
great,
and we'll return. I don't-
yes, we will.
Sounds good. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I think that's it for our community meeting for tonight. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.